Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Talk Spicy. I'm Coach Gene Clemens. Thank you for joining me wherever you are joining me. Rate the show, comment, agree, disagree, but whatever you do, keep it spicy. 5-star ratings are appreciated. And if you're joining me on the YouTube channel, like, subscribe. You know what to do. We are officially above the 100 mark, episode 101. Thank you to all who have listened over these years. We really do appreciate you. The interesting part about patience is that when we want people and we want entities to practice patience, but we don't always practice what we preach. I know for me, I have been, I shouldn't say I have been notoriously impatient over my lifetime. Notoriously impatient. I think part of it is predicated on my ADHD. Like I just want, if I think of it, I want it right now. If I'm locked in on it, then I need it to happen sooner rather than later. And then I think part of it has been hubris. The belief that I belonged or I deserved something that maybe, I don't know, maybe I didn't deserve. Maybe it wasn't my time yet for. And so I think all of those things have played a part in my personal impatience. And I think it plays a part in a lot of things when it comes to how to move, especially in this coaching world, whether that is from the front end, or from the administrative end, being organizations or athletic departments or any type of administration, or whether that is from the coaching end, where we're talking about the coaches. Like, make no mistake about this. While people are quick to refer to coaching as a calling, it is a profession. If you're a coach, you've reached a level where you're a head coach. That usually means that you have done requisite study. That means that you have made the sacrifices in order to get to that level. So you want to be in the best position to be successful. You want to be paid accordingly. You want to be appreciated for your time and your effort. But you know that a lot of times, none of those things happen because the market is so saturated at the top end. There's so many people that want to be head coaches. There are not enough coaches. That's the ruse, right? There are not enough coaches, and definitely not enough good coaches, but there are plenty of people who want to be head coaches. So if you don't take XY position, don't worry, somebody else will. And administrators know that. But there's this thing about patience, right? There's this thing about patience that if an administration is patient, they can allow a coach to grow. They can allow that coach to not only become the coach that they envisioned when they hired the coach, but to far exceed the expectations of what it was when they hired him. That's the interesting part about coaching in the coaching profession and everything that goes along with it. There's an idea that we have to somehow exist in a world where when you take a job, you are 100% the person that you're going to be in that job. And that is just not the case. it's actually really faulty thinking if you sit back and take a moment. It's not very smart to believe that the person that you hired as a coach was a finished product for the job that you're hiring them for. Now, they may have been perfect and a finished product in the job that they had before you hired them. I doubt it, because we're always growing. They may have been perfect or a finished product in other places, but on the job for you in that particular position, there may be some growth. You may not have seen the best of that person yet. We're so quick to turn things over when it's not what we want that we sometimes lose out on the growth. Administrators do it. We as coaches do it. Administrators do it, and we as coaches do it. If there's a player and the player isn't performing up to the level that we believe that player should be performing at, we find another player. We don't work with the player and we don't allow him to get better. We don't let him grow unless you're in a position where you have no other choice because there's nobody else to put out there. That's almost a gift and a curse, right? To have to play a player, not because you want to play them, but because you have no other choice. And then you get to see the progress that that player makes over the years or over the season. And at the end of the season, you go, wow, that kid has really grown. We see it all the time in the coaching profession. A kid comes in as a freshman, you go, there's no way that kid's ever going to play. In the sophomore year, you still don't hold out much hope, but you have to admit they've improved. Junior year, you're like, you know what? They've improved. We're going to throw them a bone. Some special teamers. Maybe somebody gets hurt that drops him into some type of spot duty, or maybe pressed into a role they're not ready for. By the time they hit their senior year, they're a valuable member of your team, and you're going, hey, I don't know about these other guys, but that guy has to play. That's something that comes when you give time, when you are patient. Sometimes that patience is forced on you, but the ones who have the ability to be patient when there's really no need to be patient, those are the ones who see the most success. Those are the ones that see the most success. Carlos Marins Jr., good morning. I appreciate you joining me. It's interesting that we don't really recognize that more often. That patience is something that we don't have to give, but it can only be beneficial if we invest the right amount of time. And I know for a fact that administrations don't always invest at a level of time that you would want when you're talking about patience with a coach. Example number one, Florida State. Everybody recognizes that when Jimbo Fisher left Florida State, he left Florida State in shambles. There's a bunch of stuff that people know that's never really come out to mainstream media about what was going on behind the scenes at Florida State when Jimbo left. Part of the reason that Jimbo left. Nobody ever really talks about it. But everyone talked about the fact that Florida State was in shambles, that they fell off. So in steps Willie Taggart. And if you followed Willie Taggart's career, it takes him usually a couple of years to get things rolling, which is, by the way, is interesting when you think about it, because when Willie Taggart went to Oregon, they had a couple decent seasons, and then he left, and they had their best season since like some of their best seasons since Chip Kelly. Well, that's what Willie Taggart does. That's how it happens. A few light seasons before he really gets it rolling, and then seasons of success, and then he usually ends up moving on because he's rising up the ladder. But he got to Florida State, and in year one, it was bad. And in year two, it was bad, but it was improving. It was a bowl game worthy season. Not a great bowl game, but a bowl game worthy season. They fired the man before he could finish the season. And in my opinion, they fired him because they didn't want him to be able to show the growth from year one to year two. Willie Taggart didn't look like what they wanted to run their program. He didn't look like Bobby Bowden. He didn't sound like the coaches that had run the show. He didn't sound like a Jimbo. He didn't sound like a Bobby Bowden. They got him up out the paint. A year and a half into the program, they got him up out the paint. And they brought in Norvell. Now, in my opinion, they lacked the patience. They paid Willie Taggart out an exorbitant amount of money in order to buy him out. They brought in Norvell, had to pay Norvell way more, have to give him way more security, right? Because you just got a coach out of there in a year and a half. So you've got to make the next coach coming in believe you're going to give him more security. And security for us normally means, hey, give me a little bit more money. So they probably paid Norvell more than they would have had to pay Norvell had they not just fired a coach in a year and a half. Norvell comes in, bad first season. We'll excuse it because it's a COVID season, right? Even though others didn't get excused, we'll excuse it. Year number 2, still terrible year. People were like, oh, we saw improvements. Did we? They lost to an FCS team that wasn't even that great. They beat some teams, but then they lost to other teams. They played some teams close, but at the end of the year, no bowl game. This is where keeping that same energy would have came into play. Because if the standard for you, Florida State, is we win, and we win right now, then either admit publicly, hey, we were probably hasty on getting Willie Taggart out of here. Because imagine what this team would be in year 4 under one coach. Even just take Willie Taggart out of it in year 4 with the consistency of one coach versus now 2 coaches, really 3 if you count the fact that Willie Taggart didn't finish out his first 2 years in that 4-year time. Like, what would this team be? So either admit, hey, we made a mistake firing Willie Taggart so fast. We should have given him time. We should have been patient and allowed him to let his thing work because we've seen his track record. And his track record said he was going to get it right at some point. Usually year 3, 4, right? They didn't do that. They haven't done that. They're just going to allow Mike Norvell to continue coaching. But because they were so hasty with Willie Taggart, Mike Norvell is on a hot seat that he probably should not be on because he's only in year 2 of a rebuild. But you got to keep that same energy. If you say we're getting Willie Taggart out of here in a year and a half because he's not getting it done, you got to say, hey, Mike Norvell, you're now 2 years in. 3 years means that we've given you double the amount of time that we've given Willie Taggart in order to get this thing right. You better start jumping on board. I mean, you better start showing some results. Because if we really sit back and look at Mike Norvell's record at Memphis, it's not like he was dominating. They didn't hire the hot coach who was winning championships at the G5 level. They hired a guy who was putting up a lot of points at the G5 level, who looks more like the coach they want their head coach to look like. Don't let that get lost. And so now Mike Norvell is on a hot seat, and probably deservedly so, because of how the administration has handled everything that goes along with coaching. But imagine if they had just practiced some patience. Shout out to Tampa Bay Tech football. They will play in the state championship this week. Coach Jason Roberts, who has been there now for years, the all-time winningest coach in Tampa Bay Tech history. Salute to you, sir. But Coach Rob was afforded a level of patience that a lot of high school coaches don't get. See, because many people in Tampa felt like Tampa Bay Tech should just be a power. I remember when Coach Culpepper was there, it seemed as if they were heading towards that power. But what you don't get, what you don't understand is that these things are not always easy to break through. Florida is difficult. Tampa is difficult. There were cycles. When Coach Rob came through, Plant was running the show in Tampa. Armwood was running the show in Tampa. In many respects, he had to go through the best. Then in the playoffs, there were years where they ran up against hot teams, where people made miraculous plays. There were things that kept it down. It would have been easy for an administration to go, hey, Coach Rob, you've done a great job for us, but you've taken us as far as we can go. I'm sorry, as far as you can go. And they could have gotten him out of there. Nobody would have said a word. Hey, look, Coach Rob had how many years there? He didn't get it done. He didn't win a championship. If that's what their goal is, I'm not mad at them for getting rid of him. They could have done that. Instead, they practiced patience. And he continued to get better as a coach. Shout out to Coach Carlos Blake, who has been right there with Coach Rob all those years. He could have easily taken off, and gone somewhere else to coach. Maybe even had his own head coaching job if that's what he so desired. He could have worked his way on the ladder. Instead, he stayed the course. He stayed in the trenches. Him and Coach Rob, there's some other guys in the program that have been there since day one. There have been guys that have come, that have gone, but they have been there in the trenches. And it could have been easy to not be patient. Coach Rob could have flipped the job that he did at Tech into another job that gave him more security, more money, less responsibility in the classroom. He could have done all of that. Coach Rob is not a PE teacher. And it's nothing against PE, but you guys know when you're in those classes where people expect like results from you because you have academic standards attached to it, you got to do your job as a teacher. It would have been easy for everybody involved to not practice patience. It would have been easy for parents to say, hey, listen, Tech's not getting it done. We're going to stop sending kids over there to Tech. We're going to find some other places to go. And they have. They have. They've taken their kids to private schools. They've taken their kids off to schools that they should not have, because Tech is great at what they do as a school as well. That's a good school to go to. Learn some vocations just in case you are not on track to go to college or you don't want to go to college. It's a great school to send your kid to. They had all those options. A lot of them chose patience. And now, after a year where they lost in devastating fashion, they are headed to the state championship. That's a round of applause, ladies and gentlemen, for everybody, because everybody in that situation could have been impatient. They could have decided to do something else, and Tampa Bay Tech would have never seen this level of success. This does not guarantee a state championship, ladies and gentlemen. But as anybody knows, you just want to get there. I just want to get there. If I get there and I have a chance to win it, that's all I'm asking for, and they have a chance. Good luck to Tampa Bay Tech this weekend. Good luck to Jesuit this weekend. Good luck to Berkeley Prep this weekend. All three teams representing the Tampa Bay area. 813-727s combined, stand up, go support. Hillsborough County, Pasco County, Pinellas County, combined together and form together like Voltron to make those stadiums where those games are going on the most pro Tampa Bay stadiums you can, because those guys deserve it. It's been a while since we've been able to put teams into a state championship in the Tampa Bay area, and even longer since we've actually got it done. And here is hoping that all of those young men live out their dreams. All of those coaches get an opportunity to throw that ring on their finger, because that is the joy and that is the beauty of football. There's only one team that gets to end their season with a smile on their face and a victory. That can be Tampa Bay Tech, that could be Berkeley, that could be Jesuit. So good luck to all of those teams. And to Coach Rob and Coach Blake, you got my love and support. Go ahead and get it done. Ladies and gentlemen, that is Talk Spicy. I'm Coach Gene Clemens. We do this thing every day. Rate the show, comment, agree, disagree, but whatever you do, keep it spicy. 5-star ratings are appreciated. If you're joining me on the YouTube channel, you know what to do. Until next time, peace.